Some people sense when they're being watched, and some look back on purpose. Either way, I should have walked away when I still could. It started like nothing. Noah had texted asking if I could swing by his place to grab my hoodie, the black one I'd left last weekend after we crashed in his basement. He said he'd be home soon, just running some errands. Just let yourself in. Vanessa's home, but she won't mind. I didn't even think about what that meant. Not yet. The neighborhood looked still, the kind of quiet that made you feel like you were walking into a paused moment. Birds silent, breeze warm. A delivery truck rolled down the block, slow as molasses. I rang once out of habit, then opened the front door. The air inside was cool and smelled like something between cinnamon and fresh laundry. The house was spotless, like always. I half expected Noah to shout from upstairs, but it wasn't his voice I heard. It was hers. Doors open. "I'm in the kitchen," Vanessa called out, casual but crisp. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. My sneakers made no sound on the hardwood floor. She was standing with her back to me, slicing something. Green apples maybe, the sunlight from the side window catching the gold strands in her hair. "Hey," I said, keeping it light. She glanced back over her shoulder, the slow kind of look people give when they already know who's behind them. Her eyes swept over me, paused for half a second too long. Then she smiled and turned back to the cutting board. "Noah said you were coming," she said. "Want something to drink?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Sure, whatever you're having." Vanessa poured iced tea into 2 glasses and pushed one across the counter toward me. Her nails were painted a soft neutral, and there was a single thin ring on her left hand. No wedding band, not that it meant anything. Or maybe it did. I sipped the tea, trying not to stare. She was wearing a cream-colored top, loose at the neck, and black jeans that fit too perfectly to be accidental. Nothing about her felt casual, even when she was just slicing fruit. Everything was precise. "So, what else did you leave here?" she asked, looking up from her cutting. "Just my hoodie, I think. Black one. Probably in the basement or hallway." She nodded slowly. "You leave things behind often?" The way she said it didn't sound like small talk. It sounded like something else. I looked at her again, and she was watching me now. Not slicing, not moving, just watching. I swallowed. "Only when I feel too at home." That made her smile, but it didn't soften the moment. She turned around, wiped her hands on a towel, then leaned back against the counter. Her expression was unreadable, half amused, half something else. Then she said it. "I know you've been watching me." No laugh, no wink, just the words. My throat dried up. I set the glass down carefully, like a sudden movement might trigger something bigger than I could control. "I don't." "You think I don't notice?" she said, tilting her head slightly. "Last time you were here, when we were out back, you couldn't stop staring." I didn't say anything then. I opened my mouth, but she held up a finger. Not to silence me exactly, but to signal that I didn't need to answer. She stepped forward once, slowly, then picked up her phone from the counter. A text buzzed through as she did. She glanced at it and showed it to me without speaking. "Noah, running late. Still in line. 30 to 40 minutes probably." She met my eyes again. "You've got time." For a moment, I didn't know what to do with my hands. The silence stretched. Her gaze didn't. I moved toward the hallway, pretending I was going to check for the hoodie. She let me pass. The narrow hallway felt longer than it should have. Each step padded and deliberate. The walls had family photos, most of them with Noah and his dad. Fewer with her. I paused by the guest room door. It was open just a crack. Dim light. A shadow moved behind me. I turned slightly and saw her standing at the end of the hallway, arms crossed. "Check the chair," she said. "You left it hanging there." I did. The hoodie was right where she said. I grabbed it, turned, and she was already halfway back down the hallway. That should have been it. Get the hoodie. Say thanks. Leave. But something pinned me there. I heard her stop in the kitchen again. Heard ice clink against glass. Heard the chair slide out from under the counter. She didn't call me back. Didn't ask anything else. Just stayed. And I stayed too. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another text. Noah. Scratch that. Still waiting. Might be 45. Sorry, dude. I stared at the screen. I could walk out the door now, say nothing happened, let this whole weird tension dissolve. But I didn't. I slid the phone back in my pocket and stepped quietly toward the kitchen. Vanessa didn't look up. She was reading something now. A book laid open on the counter beside the fruit. Her fingers traced the edge of the page, absent-minded. The light caught her from the side again, like earlier, and I realized I didn't want to leave yet. The house felt different now. Not louder, not busier, just aware, like the walls knew what had been said, and were waiting for what might happen next. Vanessa didn't say anything when I stepped back into the kitchen. She didn't ask why I hadn't left. She just looked up from her book and closed it softly. You found it? She asked, gesturing to the hoodie draped over my arm. Yeah, I said, right where you said. Of course, she murmured, standing up. Come on. She didn't explain where we were going, just turned and headed toward the stairs. I followed, slower than I probably should have, watching the way she moved, precise, fluid, like every step was measured. The second floor was cooler, quieter. Carpet muffled our steps. She stopped by the guest room, pushed the door open wider with a light touch. You've stayed in here before, right? She asked, almost casual. Once. Last winter. She nodded, stepping inside. The room was tidy, lit only by a thin stream of light slipping through a half-closed curtain. It smelled faintly of clean sheets and lavender. The bed was made corners sharp. A chair stood near the window. On the nightstand, a single book with a faded cover. I stood in the doorway. She stayed near the window, fingers brushing the curtain fabric. You sure you don't want to just wait downstairs? I offered, half a joke. Her reply was quiet. No, here's better. She let go of the curtain and turned to face me fully. Her eyes flicked to the book on the nightstand. You used to talk about this one, she said, back when you were still in school. Said it made you want to write. I bought a copy after you left that weekend. I looked at the cover. The lake beneath, cracked at the spine. I hadn't thought about that book in years. The book, that was the symbol now. A small thing, but suddenly everything shifted. This wasn't just a guest room, not just a hoodie, not just a conversation. You bought it? Because of me? Vanessa didn't answer directly. She stepped closer, eyes never leaving mine. The silence between us buzzed like an invisible wire pulled tight. You've grown up, she said softly, and I'm not used to you looking at me the way you do now. I didn't mean. Yes, she cut in. You did. Her voice was low, not angry, just true. She took one more step, close enough that I could smell her perfume now. Subtle, like jasmine and something deeper. Her hand brushed my sleeve as if by accident. Then she leaned in, slowly, her lips close to my ear. You think you're the only one who notices things? She whispered. I didn't move, but neither did she. For a moment, we stayed suspended like that, breathless, weightless. The bed behind me, the door closed, the book between us like a forgotten code. Then, a sudden knock. Not on the guest room door, but somewhere downstairs. 3 quick raps. Then silence. We both froze. Vanessa stepped back fast, eyes shifting toward the hallway. Another knock. this time louder. "I'll get it," she said quickly, slipping past me. I followed her out, heartbeat thudding in my ears. From the top of the stairs, I saw her reach the front door, peek through the window. She turned the knob slowly, then opened it. A neighbor, older man, tall, friendly voice. "Sorry to bother you," he said, holding a small parcel. "This got dropped in our box by mistake." She thanked him, smiled politely, took the package. "Is Noah in?" the man asked. "He's out," she said easily. "Just me here. Quiet afternoon." She didn't glance back, didn't betray anything. When the door closed, she stayed there a moment, breathing out slowly. I came halfway down the stairs. "That was close," I said quietly. Vanessa turned to me with a look I hadn't seen before. Not sharp, not teasing, just serious. "We can't do anything reckless," she said. "Whatever's happening here, we stay in control." I nodded, but my hand tightened on the banister. She glanced at the parcel, then at me. "You should probably go now," she said, "before Noah gets home." "Yeah," I said, swallowing. She started up the stairs again, past me. I stepped aside, heart racing, not sure if I should say something else. But then she stopped halfway to the guest room and looked back. "Oh," she added, "I'm usually out by the garden around 7, reading. Same book." Then she disappeared into the room and gently closed the door. There are moments that feel rehearsed by fate. The kind where every sound, every glance, every breath seems already written, and you're the only one pretending it's not. That's how it felt when I came back the next evening. The sun was dipping behind the houses when I parked near Noah's place. He'd texted earlier, said he might be out with friends till late. Perfect cover. But I told myself I was just returning the book. The one she'd left on the counter yesterday after the neighbor knocked. The one I couldn't stop thinking about. Vanessa was outside by the garden, just like she said she'd be. A light breeze lifted strands of her hair as she read under the fading light. The same the lake beneath rested in her hands, spine cracked exactly where she'd left it open before. When she saw me approach, she didn't look surprised. Just smiled, small, quiet, like she'd expected me. "I thought you'd come earlier," she said. I swallowed. "Didn't want to seem eager," she interrupted, closing the book. "You already do." Her tone wasn't cruel, just honest. The kind of honesty that cuts deeper because it's calm. I sat across from her at the small metal table. Between us, a candle flickered inside a glass cup. Somewhere nearby, a sprinkler clicked to life. She poured tea into 2 mugs, steam curling upward. I didn't remember asking for it. "You kept the book," I said. She turned it over in her hands. "You left a note inside." My pulse spiked. "What?" She opened to the page and slid out a folded scrap of paper. Lined, slightly yellowed, my handwriting clumsy and uneven. I recognized it instantly. It was from years ago when I was 16. A quote from the novel I'd written down after Noah's dad's barbecue. I must have left it in her copy back then without realizing. She read aloud softly. "Some lakes don't reflect the sky. They remember it." I felt my throat tighten. "You kept that." Her eyes lifted to mine. "I told you I noticed things." That's when I heard it, the front door slamming shut. Footsteps. Noah's voice, distant but distinct. "Mom? You out here?" Vanessa's head snapped toward the house. I froze. "In the garden," she called back, steady voice, not a flicker of panic. I glanced toward the gate, calculating. I could leave, make it look like nothing. But my car was right in front of the house. Noah would see. And if I ran, he'd ask questions. Her eyes met mine again. Sharp, silent. A command. "Stay calm." Noah's steps came closer, creaking boards, the sound of him dropping something heavy by the door. Then, mercifully, his phone rang. He answered, distracted, pacing just inside. Vanessa mouthed now. I rose, slipped behind the hedge separating the garden from the side path, and waited. My heart beat so loud I was sure she could hear it. Through the leaves, I saw her still sitting there, pretending to read, voice smooth as silk as she called back. I'll be inside soon. Noah didn't come out. His voice faded as he moved upstairs, exhaled, finally stepping back into view. Vanessa's laugh was barely a whisper. You're terrible at sneaking. You didn't seem worried. I wasn't, she said, standing up. If he came out, I'd have just said you stopped by to drop off something you borrowed. And what would that be? She smiled. Me, maybe. The words hit harder than I expected, quiet, but dangerous. We stood closer now. The candle's flame leaned toward her as the wind shifted, light catching her face, soft and unreadable. Why did you really come? She asked. To return the book, I said. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Or to see if the story's still the same? I didn't answer. She looked down at the book again, the same one that had started this. Her thumb traced the dog-eared page. Then she turned it upside down and tapped the back cover. Funny thing, she murmured. Every time I read it, I think less about the story and more about who gave it meaning. I reached out, gently took the book from her hands, and set it on the table. For a second, she let me. Then she placed her hand over mine. That was the first time she didn't pull away. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't even an embrace. Just that, her fingers resting over mine, her pulse faint beneath her skin. But in that quiet moment, everything tilted. I wanted to say something, anything, but she shook her head slightly. Don't, she whispered. If we start putting words on this, it becomes real. Isn't it already? Her eyes softened, and for the first time, she didn't hide it. Yes, she said. That's the problem. A door creaked inside the house. A shadow moved behind the curtains. Vanessa straightened, hand slipping away. You should go. Before he comes back out. I hesitated. Will I see you again? She looked at me for a long time, not smiling now, not teasing, just deciding. Then she reached for the folded note still on the table, the one from years ago, and turned it over. She wrote something on the blank side with a pen from her pocket, folded it again and held it out. If you want to know where I'll be tonight, she said quietly, read it. When I reached my car, I finally unfolded the note. Her handwriting was small, deliberate. 3 words only. Room 214. Harbor Inn. The ink smudged slightly under my thumb as I read it again, just to make sure it was real. And in that second, I knew this wasn't just a game anymore. There's a moment between decision and consequence. A breath, a blink, a silence just long enough to turn around. I didn't. I stood outside Harbor Inn for 5 full minutes before going in. The neon sign buzzed above the entrance, letters flickering. Harbor was dimmer than inn, like even the building had secrets it wasn't proud of. It wasn't far from Noah's place. Too close, maybe. Close enough for someone to drive by. Close enough for someone to recognize my car. But I didn't move it. I just killed the engine, shoved my phone deep into the glove box, and left it there, still buzzing from texts I hadn't read. One was probably Noah. One might have been my girlfriend. I didn't care. I stepped through the lobby doors. The place was quiet. Faint smell of carpet cleaner and old wood. The woman at the front desk didn't look up from her computer. She didn't need to. I didn't ask for the key. Vanessa had left the door ajar. Room 214. End of the hall. Right side. I pushed it open gently. She was sitting in the armchair by the window, lights off, city glow slipping through sheer curtains. Her legs crossed, hair pulled back, a soft black sweater clinging to her shoulders. No makeup, no rings, just her. She didn't turn when I entered. "Took you long enough," she said. "I almost didn't come," I said, closing the door behind me. "I know, but I did. I know that too." I sat on the edge of the bed. Neither of us moved for a moment. Then she finally turned to face me. "I used to come here by myself," she said, "before I married Noah's father, before the house, before the silence." Her voice was quieter than usual, less controlled. "Back then, this room felt like a choice. Now it feels like the only place I can hear myself think." I nodded, not sure what to say. The room was warm, but her voice carried a chill. "You ever feel like you're playing a role for so long, you forget what your real voice sounds like?" she asked. "Every day," I admitted. That surprised her. A real smile flickered, not the teasing kind, the sad kind, the kind that meant something. "Tell me the truth," she said. "Did you come here for me, or for the version of me you've built in your head?" I looked at her directly. "Both," she exhaled. "At least you're honest." The silence that followed was different this time. Not tense, just still. "I've been living like I owe people a version of myself," she said. "Wife, stepmother, polite neighbor, pretty hostess." She leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "I'm not any of those things. Not anymore. The marriage is cold. The house is a set. And most days, I feel more like a ghost than a woman." I swallowed hard. "Then what are you right now?" She looked up. A woman trying not to disappear. She reached into her bag beside the chair and pulled out the old photo, the same one of me, Noah, and her years ago. "I used to frame this," she said. "Now I keep it buried. I look at it sometimes and wonder if I ever belonged in it." "You do," I said. She didn't answer, just looked at me, and this time didn't look away. My phone vibrated again. I hadn't heard it, but I felt it like a phantom limb. In the glove box, out of reach. Vanessa noticed the shift in my expression. "You need to go?" I shook my head. I already lied, said I was helping my cousin move. "No one's expecting me back tonight." "That was a choice," she said. "Yeah," I nodded. "It was." We stayed like that for a while, not touching, not talking, just there, until someone knocked. Not loud, just two firm taps. "Room service? Wrong door?" We didn't know. Vanessa stood instantly, pressed a finger to her lips. I stepped to the side of the bed, out of view from the door. She walked to the peephole and peered out. Her breath caught. "What is it?" I whispered. She didn't speak for a few seconds. Then, finally, "It's someone from the neighborhood," she said. "Not close, but familiar. We've seen each other at gatherings." "Do you think they saw me?" "I don't know." We stayed frozen. The knock didn't come again. After a few seconds, the footsteps faded. She stepped away from the door, her hand trembling slightly as she brushed hair behind her ear. "This is the risk," she said. "It's not just a thrill anymore. It's a consequence." I nodded slowly. "So do we stop?" She walked over to me, stood close. Her voice was low. "I'm not ready to go back to pretending." I looked at her. "Then what happens next?" She leaned in finally, and for the first time really kissed me. Slow, measured, like she wanted to feel every inch of the choice she was making. Then she stepped back and pressed something into my palm. A small folded square of paper. "I'll be in the same place next Friday," she whispered. "Same time." And just like that, the deal was made. Some things don't need permission to begin. They only need a door left unlocked and the silence to walk through it. Friday came like a test. I told Noah I was catching a movie with classmates. I told my girlfriend I'd be out of town for a few days helping my uncle with some remodeling. I told too many lies to count, and believed every one of them. By the time I reached Harbor Inn again, it was darker than before, colder. Room 214's curtains were drawn, but I saw a soft yellow light glowing beneath the crack in the door. I knocked once. No answer. I turned the knob. It opened. Vanessa was sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing the same black sweater, legs tucked beneath her. No makeup, hair slightly undone. A small lamp on the nightstand lit her face from below, casting gentle shadows under her eyes. She didn't smile. She just looked at me, and I didn't say anything either. I walked in, shut the door quietly behind me, and sat beside her. The lamp buzzed faintly. The only sound between us was breathing. I turned to face her. Her hand found mine, and this time we didn't hesitate. That night was neither rushed nor slow. It was quiet, intimate, a decision with no need for words. And when it was over, we stayed there, side by side. No retreat, no apology, just the feeling that something had shifted finally into place. 1 month later, the world didn't explode, but it changed. Noah never asked why I stopped coming by. My girlfriend eventually drifted off after one too many missed calls and vague excuses. I started sleeping better, and not because I was less guilty, but because I stopped lying to myself. We created a rhythm. Every other Friday, room 214. Same lamp, same book on the nightstand. She brought tea. I brought nothing but silence and attention. We didn't text, didn't call, didn't risk the ordinary. It became our language. One night I arrived early. She wasn't there yet. I let myself in, sat by the window, flipped through the book again. The lake beneath. I found the old note tucked between the pages, the one I wrote when I was 16. She'd circled the last line. Some lakes don't reflect the sky, they remember it. Next to it, she'd written, and some people don't forget what they were never supposed to feel. I folded it, tucked it in my wallet, and waited. She arrived 10 minutes later, hair damp from light rain, cheeks flushed from wind. She stepped in, didn't say a word, just walked up to me, placed her hand on my chest. "I needed this," she whispered. I nodded. So did I. We didn't speak of the future, only of next time. It was safer that way, but even safe things carry heat. On my way out that night, I turned off the lamp. She stayed lying in bed, eyes half closed, sheets curled around her bare legs. As I reached the door, I looked back once more. She raised her hand from beneath the blanket and pointed to the desk. "Read it when you get home," she said. There was a folded piece of paper, weighed down by the base of the lamp. I took it, and as I closed the door, soft light spilled into the hallway, just enough to see her silhouette, still and glowing.